Hi everyone, I'm Kurt.
And I'm Lisa.
This is Your Health, Your Way, and we are in day 11 of our 30-day raw vegan exercise. Let's check in and see how we did today, Lisa.
Today was a great day. I actually worked today, which made it so much easier to stay on track because I was busy all day. What I did was I left this morning with 3 bananas in the car, which I ate on my way to work. And then during the morning, I had a snack of nuts, and then later on I had some oranges that I had cut up, had that as a snack, and then I had a late lunch, which was a nice big salad. By the time I left work, I went straight to the gym, and I had, because the other day I had mentioned that I didn't have the energy to do cardio after lifting weights one day last week. So what I did was this time I had half of the smoothie on my way to the gym, to be giving it time to digest, and I did my weights, and then before I went up to do cardio, I had a little bit more of the smoothie just to give me a little bit more of a pep. And I came home and I don't even feel hungry, you know, and I don't believe I was there as long as I was, because my workouts don't feel like they're that long.
Great.
But it was pretty long. That's why I'm casual today. Ran home and had to do this. So
wonderful.
How about you? How was your day?
Well, I started my day with a couple bananas and a couple of apples. Had a mid-morning snack of some dehydrated red bell pepper chips. For lunch, I had some more dehydrated red bell pepper chips with a raw vegan taco dip that was made with avocados, coconut, something else. I don't remember what all was in it. And then for dinner, I had a banana orange lemon smoothie. So started my day off again like the last couple of days, kind of slow. I was tired, I was hungry, less patient. But I left work early today and came home, and by lunchtime I was actually feeling pretty good. I'm more even-keeled again, so hopefully it'll remain that way. Let's wait and see, I guess, and you know, we still have a ways to go, and
Sounds
we'll
good.
take it
Sounds
from
like
there.
we're learning. We're learning as we're doing this.
That we are. So that leads us to our discussion for today. Yesterday we talked about acid and alkaline balance in the body, the lymphatic system, the kidneys, the colon. Yep. Today let's talk a little bit about mucus and how that affects us. What is mucus? How does it affect us? What's its purpose?
Okay. Well, first of all, we got to talk about acidosis, because mucus comes in to buffer the acidosis. We get acidic from various sources, from eating animal proteins, from the water we drink, from the air we breathe, through our skin when we take showers or long baths, which a lot of us tend to do, from, like I said, brushing our teeth. And the mucus comes in, and stress. So mucus comes in to buffer the acids, and what it does is it starts suffocating the cells where nutrients can't get exchanged through the cell walls. Mucus also slows down the lymphatic system, causing a backup or an accumulation in the body. And then we'll have things like sinus drainage, sinus problems, phlegm, frequent cough. And oftentimes what people get is bronchospasm, which is the lungs contracting to be able to get the phlegm out. That's like when you have what they call a productive cough. So mucus can create things, and a lymphatic backup can create anywhere from things like acne and pimples to boils and cysts and tumors. So it definitely can be problematic when there's an overabundance of it.
Right, definitely. So, but what's the biggest contributor to mucus?
Well, of all those things that I mentioned, specifically the food, dairy is the biggest culprit. And I know a lot of people are not going to even believe this, and a lot of people aren't even going to like hearing this, because the milk industry has brainwashed us into believing that milk is necessary, milk is good, it's, you know, it gives us calcium. But humans are one of the, there are very few animals that will consume the milk of another species. And the other part is that soon after birth, I think about 2 years old, we don't have the lactase enzyme active to digest the milk. So it causes things like bloating and flatulence. So there's only apparently a very few small number of humans that can digest it into adulthood. I think they're in the native Northern Europe. They're native to Northern Europe.
Right, absolutely.
So let's talk about the calcium. People will drink milk for calcium. Almond milk has more calcium than cow's milk, so that's a better option, and it doesn't have the mucus forming ability that the dairy does. People drink milk to prevent osteoporosis. Now we have to look at what osteoporosis is and why it's there. When osteoporosis is when the body takes calcium from the bones and the teeth, and the reason it does that is to buffer the acids. So if you have an acidic body, acidic conditions, then the body will withdraw the calcium from the bones, causing osteoporosis. If you have an alkaline condition, the body shouldn't do that. The other problem is with calcium absorption. Some people are not absorbing calcium, perhaps due to a weakened thyroid. So the problem is to strengthen the thyroid by stopping certain foods and by consuming more raw fruits and vegetables. And that's the natural way to do it. Mm-hmm. And milk produces problems, that we sometimes blame, like seasonal allergies, like we call seasonal allergies.
Right.
Or we say, oh, someone got sick at work and that's why I got sick. Well, the thing is, not everybody suffers from allergies. Not everybody at work gets sick because Joe Blow was sick. So we have to ask what else is going on. Mm-hmm. And we go, okay, let's look at the food that we're eating, because
Sure.
that's usually the biggest culprit. Some people can drink milk and then they'll notice they'll start sneezing, or they'll get a cough, or they'll start getting this kind of thing that they do, this very attractive noise. They'll have a stuffy nose or feel tired and blame it on the wrong things.
Okay. But now, what about people that don't really care for milk, or they don't drink a lot of milk?
Well, milk comes in forms beyond just a glass of milk. I don't like drinking glasses of milk either, never did, but I love dairy. That's one of my downfalls. Look at the other forms of where you're getting milk from. Ice cream, cheese, yogurt, recipes that call for dairy products, coffee creamers, half and half. And then consider all the boxed and packaged and bottled foods that are processed. A lot of times they have milk in it. And sometimes milk comes in forms, the name of the ingredient is let me say that again. Sometimes milk is used as an ingredient, but it is not labeled as milk, with flashing signs. It might come in the form of whey or casein or lactose. So there are ways that advertisers, try to fool us. And so in order, instead of looking at all those things and trying to avoid milk, not just avoid milk, but just eat more raw fruits and vegetables. And that in theory is a lot easier than trying to analyze all the ingredients of food, although it is interesting. And the other part is you have to consider the cumulative effect of dairy. Mm-hmm. Because, is a glass of milk here going to hurt me, you might ask? Well, maybe not. Depends on how clean your body is already. But add to that dairy, the meat that you're eating, the stress that you're experiencing, the water that you're drinking that's polluted, some starches and grains that you've had. So it's a cumulative effect of all of the toxins, not just one toxin. And so the people will get sick, and then they'll go to the doctor and get medication, which will then suppress these symptoms instead of allowing the body to get rid of them. Sure. It's a cycle.
Sure. Well, when we have an overabundance of mucus then, and we want to break it up, help clear it out, because it's buffering these acids, we want to get the acids and the mucus out of our system, right?
Exactly.
So what do we do?
Well, first, like I said, stop with the dairy. As much as you can, try to get on either coconut milk or almond milk. Soy milk has its own issues. We could probably talk about soy another time. There's a lot of good movies out there about that. What helps to bust up the mucus are citrus fruits, so lemon, limes, oranges, grapefruits, as well as pineapples, and also grapes and melons. It's one of Dr. Morris's recommendations. And one of the things that was a huge help to me to get rid of, to stop taking the antihistamines and the inhalers, was every night when I started going raw, I would have, every morning and every night, I would have at least 1 or 2 cups of water with lemon, raw honey, and several little pieces of ginger that I would chew up and swallow. And that really helped. That
Great.
really helped.
Good home remedy.
Very good.
Yeah. Now, come winter, we're in winter season right now.
Oh, yes.
We hear commercials for cold and flu medications. It's the season. We've been on the plane with somebody who is sick.
Exactly.
What can we do about that?
Well, the first thing is to look at what's really making you sick. And it's not just the fact that someone's, contaged you or whatever because they were sick, because not everybody gets sick who gets exposed to that. We have to consider what Dr. Morse calls our internal environment, or our culturing medium, which means if you have an environment that attracts viruses, bacteria, and fungus, they will come. And the reason they come is to clean up our waste. When our own body cannot clean up its own waste because there's so much accumulation, they come in. And then what presents a problem is when we have an overproliferation of those parasites, because that's what they are. It's parasites. We'll blame wintertime because for getting sick, but we have to consider when wintertime happens. Notice a correlation between wintertime and the holidays?
Oh, you're right.
So we have the same temptations. We start with Halloween, where you have all the candy. And then just when you're about done consuming your candy, you have Easter. Not Easter. Looking at my Easter wreath. I'm starting early this year. We look at Thanksgiving, where we have cheese and crackers. So we have dairy and grains. Alcohol, whether it's red wine or beer, which is sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the meats, which could be turkey or ham. And then the casseroles, which are full of usually grains.
Dairy.
Mm-hmm. Corn syrup.
Right.
And then the desserts, more sugar, more grain, more dairy. Thanksgiving's over, and boom, we have Christmas. And not to mention, not just the holidays, but the time in between the holidays where people are bringing to work all these wonderful desserts that they make. They're giving you gifts of chocolates and cookies and fudge and all this stuff. And then we have New Year's Day. A month after that, we have Valentine's Day. It's all about candy. If you love someone, you give them the heart. Full of chocolates. And then we have Easter. So I think from October to April, it's no coincidence that that's when a lot of people get sick and there's this flu epidemic or whatever. So that's just my opinion. But notice the correlation.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the correlation.
Now, and we've noticed ourselves that in the past, when we've gotten sick, it usually correlates with a time frame wherein we've let our diet lapse a bit.
I did it just this past Thanksgiving.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned candida. Our bodies can become irritated by the presence of candida. What is that? What's candida?
Well, candida is a fungus, and it's due to the overgrowth of most of the time sugar. But I lump candida and fungus in with bacteria and viruses. They're all a form of parasite that comes to clean up our waste. And if you don't provide the environment, they're not gonna be there. They're not gonna overgrow. Put it this way: they're there normally to help us clean out, but it's the overgrowth that becomes a problem. So don't give them something to overgrow on.
Right. So raw foods then can help eliminate things like candida?
Well, let's say you invite a person for dinner repeatedly, but you never serve dinner. Now, is that person going to eventually stop coming to dinner?
Probably.
Well, unless they're masochistic. I don't know. They like to suffer.
Now, we talk about sugar being a problem for all of the, overabundance of bacteria, mucus, fungus, and things like that. But there's a lot of sugar in fruit, but we're recommending fruit. So can you talk a little about why why we'd go that direction.
Yeah, we got to separate a couple of things. Fruit has fructose, which is the natural form of sugar, and the form of sugar that our cells were meant to absorb and work off of. Our cells need that energy to function. That's why fruit smoothies are so helpful when you go exercise. It gives you energy, so this is good. People confuse fructose with high fructose corn syrup, which is a laboratory-made, man-made product to sweeten things. We find that in soft drinks. Just look up, and then they'll start calling it different things to hide it, but it's basically high fructose corn syrup. So one problem is that, not the fructose. The other problem is that people will blame raw foods for giving them a problem that has nothing to do with the raw foods. What happens is people will consume things like starches, complex carbohydrates like breads, rice, pastas, and that'll be sitting in the intestinal tract trying to digest through. Fruit goes right through your digestive system into your stomach, and it digests very quickly. But if you have all this blockage down here and the fruit comes whoop, and it's trying to go somewhere and it's not, it's going to sit there because it can't go anywhere. So that will ferment and create gas and bloating and things like the symptoms that we get when we have a flu or a cold, nasal drainage, and all these things. So it's not the fruit, it's what was there beforehand. In fact, speaking of candida previously, a friend of mine had gone to a holistic doctor for some reason, and he did a test on her. She didn't have any symptoms of candida, but he says, you have a candida overgrowth. So he takes her off of fruit for at least, I think it was at least a month or 6 weeks, I don't remember. So she was without fruit for that long. I don't know how she functioned. I don't know if she was maybe just running on adrenaline that time. I don't know. But she never had any symptoms of it. And then once this diet was over, her results show no different. You know, and on top of that, she was already thin and she lost a bunch of more weight. So it was like she felt miserable for nothing, and she was really, upset about that. Now, had I have known this back then, I would have shared with her this information.
Right. So
and always when you have fruit first, let that digest, and then have other
go
food.
into the heavier stuff.
Yep. So if you're going to have salad, like don't have a salad and have that, the vegetables, the fiber is going to take longer to digest, and then put fruit on top. Have the fruit first.
So then recognize that there is a difference between fructose and high fructose corn syrup.
Yes. And glucose.
And glucose. Yeah. And the body is capable and probably quite happily willing to digest things like glucose and fructose.
Fructose, yeah.
And when it comes to high fructose corn syrup, which is probably in the majority of the packaged foods that we buy as a sweetener, that's not really there for us to digest. So, moral of the story, when you want to break up mucus, make an inhospitable environment for fungus, eat fruit.
And stop toxifying yourself with the other stuff.
Right.
And combine your fruit by itself without the other foods.
Right. So that's our discussion for tonight. Tomorrow we are going to talk about detox.
Yep.
So thank you for watching.
Thank you. This is Your Health, Your Way. Good night.
I hate this. Being cold. Go. Started my day off kind of slow. Kind of slow.